Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I had breakfast with a fellow named Eric in San Jose a few weeks back, and he used a term or a phrase I had never heard before. And I've thought a lot about this phrase, mystical obligation. And it really resonated with me. So I kind of wanted to share this concept or this idea with everybody. And I think what stuck with me probably is a reflection of all of the volunteer work I've done in the past. So as my kids were young and growing up, I coached t-ball, basketball, cross country, track, soccer, probably a few others in there. And I was real involved in scouting with my boys from Cub Scouts, early Cub Scouts, all the way into Boy Scouts. My oldest son actually became an Eagle Scout. So I was heavily involved and I would say committed through that process, meaning I took on a den leader role. I took on an assistant scoutmaster role. I managed, merit badges, things like that. And I was very actively participating. I always like this adage of the chicken and the egg, the pig and the bacon. So the chicken that lays the egg is said to be involved in the process. The pig who provides the bacon is committed. And I've always really liked that adage because it does resonate with me. And I feel personally that we have a commitment issue in our society. And I don't want to get political, but through all my volunteer time spent in scouting and coaching, I watched parents sit on the sideline on their hands and do nothing. And I'm not criticizing them necessarily. I just couldn't understand why somebody whose kids are in an organization like that would basically be there for a meeting and be there for some of the events and not take some kind of a role where they take an obligation or they make a commitment. And and this is kind of where I'm headed with this concept. What it means to me is mystical obligation is when we make a commitment that we become one with that commitment. And I really, really like that concept because so often, even with ASSP, the American Society of Safety Professionals, I chair the mentoring committee for the consultant practice specialty. And I've had real issues with members volunteering to be part of that committee and then absolutely just disappearing without a word. You just can't get a hold of them, right? And I can't understand why somebody might make a commitment and then just completely renege on that commitment. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that what's really important to point out in this long-winded concept I'm sharing is that well, first off, we're a society of what's in it for me. And I don't think that that's a surprise to anybody. You can just look around at how people behave, and it's all about individuals. It's not about the cumulative total of all of us. So, when we make a commitment to do something, when we volunteer to do something, our reputation and our character are on the line if we don't honor that commitment. So first thing I do is I always encourage people, number one, get involved. I think it's important because you're going to get as much out of it as you give. Number two, if you make a commitment, honor that commitment no matter what. If you can't for some reason, then exit with grace. Tell whoever you volunteered with or whoever you're working with that, look, I bit off more than I can chew. I made a commitment that I just don't have the time for, and I really apologize, but I think it's best that I back out because I cannot provide the value that I committed to up front, and that's not fair to you. That's honorable. And I don't normally see that. I just see people just kind of slide away into the shadows and disappear. So when we make that mystical obligation to somebody, and I think we should make those mystical obligations where we're completely and totally committed to somebody or something, I think we get a lot out of that. And I think people see that. And I see some of the comments on in our social media, like Ryan Rubel, if you're out there, made a comment about how we as an employer are just different. It's because of that mystical obligation. And that starts at the top. That starts with me. And it's, par for the course with my entire team. When they commit to something, I know you can expect that commitment to be honored. And I challenge people again to really reflect on this concept. Number one, if you volunteer for something, see it through. Number two, if you can't for some reason, be honorable and back out with grace. But look for opportunities to make that mystical obligation, especially if it's in a situation where you're helping somebody in their career path or you're advising somebody. Be there for them no matter what. Honor that commitment and be everything you possibly can be. I think, again, it says a lot for your character. I think you'll get a tremendous amount of personal value out of it. And I think when it comes to Maslow's hierarchy, the top or the absolute achievement being self-actualization, I think mystical obligations are one of the steps on the path to get there. So hopefully you find that helpful. We'll see you next Wednesday.